Okay, so we're going to continue, and we just took a few minutes for people to just come over here. So we're going to continue and talk about building effective user experiences using AppStudio. So I'm assuming all of you have heard of AppStudio and you're interested to build native applications, and I'm assuming that's why you're here. Um, and you want to build the best looking, the best performing apps. So here we're going to share some examples and show you what's coming, what's already available, and how you can take advantage of it. And most probably we'll also see some examples that you can actually borrow ideas from or borrow code from and put it in your own app. Okay, so let's get started. So Levi is going to continue this presentation. Are you ready? All right, let's go.
So when you build an app, you always want to it has a better user experience. So how to build a effective user experience with our App Studio? So to have a better to improve your user experience, there are three things that you can do. The first thing is to improve the UI itself. So to improve the UI, in the next version, we're going to give you the ability to use a material style. But now, since this release we support the Qt 5.8, you can use some controls a component called the Quick Controls Component 2.0. So I will go detail about this and show you some example. The second thing I want to talk is because this is a cross-platform app, so you always want to keep consistency for different devices. So is there any strategy you need to follow? Is there any some tips you could use to make this happen? That's the second thing. The last thing I want to show is how to improve the performance of your app. I already talked some of the suggestion in the last session, but in this session we're going to talk something where you can use your QML or JavaScript to improve the performance of apps. There's some tips. So let's go through them one by one. So we first talk about how to use a Quick Controls 2.0 and how to use a material style. So Quick Controls 2.0 is a library that's provided by Qt, will give you a set of controls or widgets that can be reused to build a complete interface for your apps. So basically, this will make you easier to write code and write the UI for your app. So this module was introduced in Qt 5.7 and gets improved in Qt 5.8. And the material style is another library provide a way to specify the rendering of certain entities on controls components. By default, you could use a Google Material if you use these libraries, but you could also set up your own your own material style if you want. So let's see how we can set up the Qt Creator to make it to help you to test this material style. So you need to go to the Qt Creator tools and go through all the steps, set run, add arguments to this command line. So this command line will force you to use material when you test it on the app run. So again, this is the material is not available now if you try to do the cloud make and test in the player, but you can still try to do a local build for it, and I will and we will do something for the material style in the next hopefully in the future. So after you do all this setup, you need to always import this libraries, Qt Creator Controls Material 2.0, 2.1 or 2.0. So this contains all. This is a library that's going to help you to build the material style. So let me show you some basic example about how to use this material. So we will create the buttons and use materials to this button to make it nicer. So if I just define a button by using basic controls components, it's going to look like this. This is not good in the app. We want some animation on top of it. We want to use a material color for it. We want to have some shadow for these buttons. And we also want to have some animation when I click the button or hover on top of it. And most of the time, you will need a different mode for the same controls. Sometimes you may need a dark mode for the components. We need to have an easy way to switch to the dark mode and use for this control components. So how should we do that? So uh, let's go to see the code here. So as you can see here, we define the basic button. So it has a text set button, and it has a basic text, and also set the highlights as to be true. We don't do anything else, and we put it in the center of the parents. So after we import this material style, we can set up the color of this buttons by using some properties of a material like accent, the this elevation. This will help you to set up do the setting for the shadow of this controls, and we can also set up the background, the foreground colors, and other properties. Let's say what happens if I just set up the accent of these controls. As you can see, the color of this controls changed to some material color. This is look nice, and when I hover on top of it, there is some color changed, and you can see the control itself get changed. There's some reduce for the corner, and there's when you click it, it has some animation to show up. This is more like what we should use in our app. But although you can write these components by yourself, it may ask for extra efforts write the code. But since the Qt already provides this controls component, why not directly use it with the material? So let's see what happened. What other properties we could change if we use a material? So there's as I said before, this elevation will give you the ability to change the shadow behind. So you don't need a lot of you may use the shadow component to define the shadow for the widgets. But here you can use elevation to set up the shadow, and this only take one line's code, and you don't need to take care of the where you should define that shadow, because the shadow itself may have some space if you put in your app. So here we change the elevation to 10 and try to run it again. Okay, let me put this. As you can see, there is a slight difference between the shadow if we set the elevation here, or we don't. We just use some default elevation. This is one change, and I talked earlier that we could use some property to set up what theme should we use for the material. So here, how should we change this to the dark mode of this? To change the app, to switch the app to the dark mode. So by using a property called the theme, you can set up the dark mode. So since we are using Google Material now, it already has some setting for the dark mode. So if I uncomment this line, and try to run it again, you can see the color has get changed in this app. So this is the color we used for the dark mode, and it will automatically do the things without even without even let you know that. So it's amazing things. Think about it. We just defined the one controls here. So what happens if I use the controls through all my apps and use a material for it? And after I doing that, what it should look like? Uh, so I create a showcase app in, I mean, less than 3 days, 3 days, and let's see what it look like. This this app. So if you don't use material for it, this app is going to look something like this. It's still nice because we use some controls inside it. So you can do the gesture for it, and you can use the side menu. You can use this swipe view here. It has a nice animation, but it's still not good. So let's run this app and try to use a material for it. So now it's look much better because now we use material for the same controls. Uh, so here we only import the material libraries and change a little bit for some of the objects to use a different material settings. And it will give this good shadow behind the side menu and have a good color and even give you some setting. As you can see, there's a small line under this tab view. These are exactly the same code. The only change is I import the material style and use it inside my app. So we highly recommend you to use the material, to use the controls in your app, and uh, and the material style will help you to build a good look app. So So the second things you could do to improve your UX is by using some strategy and tips to keep your UI consistent on different devices. As you know, one of the version of a Qt app can run on different devices, but sometimes these devices may have a different resolution for the screens. So how to make it look similar on different screen would be a good question to ask. So first tip we give to you is in the AppStudio library, we have a app framework library. We have a property called display scale factor. So this display factor will use a device's scale factor and try to calculate based on the screen's DPI. So some of you may develop some Android app before. So this is similar to that DPI values, but it's calculated by using some. But you can use it, you can find these properties and documents in the app framework libraries. So to use this display factor, use this display factor instead of pixel for all the size and the position value for the component, you will get the ability to make it look nicer on different devices. So the second tips is use large screens wisely. So this means two things. In the quick report, it can run on the large screen or on the small devices. So let me show you the quick report demo. So on the first screen of a quick report, you can see there's some side menu. So this will give you some contact information some about information, and give you the ability to set up the link to go to some website to show the detailed information about your app. But this side menu will, if you notice, it will only use in the small devices. And if I change the size of the screen, this side menu, the content inside this side menu will move to the bottom of this page. So why is that? Because to improve the user experience, we don't want user to click the extra to make an extra click action if they just want to show this on the large screen. On the large screen, we have more space to show all these buttons, and why bother user to click or do one more click? So you may modify your UI based on the size of the screen, based on the what mode the screen is, whether it's a portrait mode, whether it's a landscape mode, and decide what UI should look like. So the strategy behind is we always define two properties. One is to decide whether it's a large screen. One is to decide whether it's a landscape mode or portrait mode. And based on that properties, you can set up the UI and switch it when it's changed to a different mode or used for different devices. So the next tips I give to you is come from some question. Some of our users may ask how to make the text. You already talk about the layouts and all this UI stuff, how to set the size of it, but how to make our text look similar on different devices? That is a good question. Because Qt in the text component, Qt has some property called point size. And in the document, it says by using this, you can look similar on different devices. But the truth is, it will not give you the ability to do that. A better way to do that is instead of using that point size property, just use some pixel size property with our display scale factor. So use pixel size to set up the size of the font and use the values with the display factor for the value of that properties would be a good choice. So the last things we could do to improve the user experience is to, maintain the stability of your app and to increase the speed of response action. So to do that, there's several tips that you could use, and we want to use this in our templates and our example app. So the first thing is for the image. So Qt has some components called the image component. This component used to handle to load the image source to your app. So there's some tricks you could use to make it work better. So the first thing is by default, this asynchronized property is set to be true. So if it's possible, do not change it, because this will give you ability to parallelly load your image. So this is a gift to come from Qt, because in Android, when you load the different images, you may want to use libraries to cache this thing in the memory and do it in the separate strings to load the image from the internet. But in Qt, if you set this property to be true, it will give you ability to synchronously to load the image inside the component. The second thing you need to take care of is that if the size of the image source is very large, do not load the image directly into this image component. Instead, you should always set up the source size of the images. So in that case, it will not cost you so much memory, because in one of our projects, we try to use a gallery and try to load all the photos on my devices. because it run out because it took a lot of memory, it's going to be very slow. But once you set up this source size, this property will help you to set the size of elements being rendered if loaded large images on the small size of elements, and this will save the memory for you in your app. So the second tips is for the anchors. So Qt has some optimization for if you use anchors instead of set a fixed position for the component. As you can see on the left side, there's a rectangle here. We set the position of this rectangle based on the first rectangle one, based on the XY property of the first component. But on the second, on the right side, we use anchors to set the position of the rectangle because the Qt already uh, do some optimization for the anchors. So use anchors rather than bindings is a good choice if you want to set up the position of the component. So this will speed up the speed of your app and make it work smoothly if you have lots of different components showing the same layout. So finally, we could improve the performance of your app by using the following two things. One is lazy initialization. We already talked this in the last session. So do not initialize elements until it's necessary. Initialize the common user components such as local storage, position source, selector when the app started. Use that loader, use the JavaScript to dynamically create objects for that. It's always a good choice. And we could also use a network cache manager to caching the image for you. So a good example is map tool. So in the map tool, we use the same image on different places for multiple times. So if we have 100 map in one tool, it may cost a lot of time if we try to download it every time. And because the one image may use a different position, and image component can only help you to cache the things in the memory if you not destroy that component. We need to save these images in some local files to make it work like a. Have you ever heard about a library called Picasso? Just like that, we want to cache it to some local files. So by using Network Cache Manager, we can cache all these images. So that would be all three things you need to do when you design and implement your app for the App Studio. Thank you.
Thank you, Levi. Okay, I think you got some tips. It was just 30 minutes. It's hard for us to go into any details. If you're interested more in looking at some cool apps that we have built, some user experiences that we have built using some of the techniques that he discussed, please stop by our booth and we can show you lots of demos and examples where you can really see these components coming to life. And you will realize some of the things that's happening there and maybe even give you some ideas that you could use in your own applications. All right? Thanks a lot.